Now, last month, William Hague made a startling intervention in the debate about illegal immigration to the UK. He said the numbers of migrants wanting to come to Britain at the moment are as nothing compared to the numbers who will be heading here in years to come. The former Foreign Secretary said that the weight of humanity from countries like Afghanistan would pale into insignificance compared to the mass of people waiting to come here from Africa over the next 30 years. It puts into context some of the challenges faced by a government which is struggling to live up to its promise to curb the flow of migrants across the Channel. More than 700 migrants landed on the beaches yesterday, taking the total who have made it to Britain with the help of people smugglers to almost 13,000 this year, already a third more than the total number who made it here for the whole of last year. With me is research fellow at Bow Group, Benjamin Loughnane. Benjamin, thanks so much for coming in. We appreciate it. Where to begin? Let's just start with the numbers today, the numbers this week, this month, this year, sharply up on last year, and the government seemingly inclined to blame the French for not doing enough. Is that a reasonable criticism?
Well, I wouldn't blame the French, because if migrants are leaving their shores to come here, why would they stop them? It's not in their interest to do so. We have to make it in their interest to do so. So the onus really is on us to incentivise the French to prevent those crossings from taking place. However, our policy is always, let's give them more money. So the more migrants who come, the more money we give them. So the incentive is quite the opposite.
And just on the narrow point about the French, is giving the French more money likely to achieve anything? I mean, is there any leverage we possess right now?
No, not at all. I mean, we have some leverage in terms of diplomacy. For example, we provide air support through the RAF and that sort of thing. So there are areas in which we provide support to the French, which we could say, look, we need a bit of quid pro quo, we need a bit of back and forth. But it doesn't seem like the government is even trying to do that at the moment. They aren't even having those conversations. Every time we see an increase in the numbers, they just throw more money at the problem. And, you know, clearly it's not working because the numbers continue to go in one direction, and that's upwards.
I just heard my friend and colleague Nigel Farage talk about Priti Patel not doing enough to stop this. I wonder if that's fair. The border bill that she's going to push through Parliament will address some of these problems. The people you can see disembarking from that rib boat, that inflatable boat there, when the border bill becomes law, when it's enacted, the moment they set foot on that beach, I think it's in Dungeness, they will effectively become would-be criminals. They'll be criminalised and potentially liable to be in prison for 4 years.
Well, ostensibly, but I don't think that bill is worth the paper it's written on, and I'd be very surprised if Priti is still in place come Thursday if there is a reshuffle. The job she's done, if she doesn't get moved, it will show that the government is far too weak to move incompetent ministers out of the departments which they are failing to run.
Is it really possible for even a Home Secretary in such a vaunted position to deliver on promises like this? I mean, you've got the full weight of the state behind you in her case. You've got a lot of political will as well. Is it the Home Office? I mean, is there some sort of monolithic pressures here just stopping the delivery happening?
Well,
I'm struggling.
If it's not possible, then what's the point in her having that job? You know, ultimately, what's the point in electing people into positions where they can't actually achieve the things that they are elected by the people to do? But no, there are some institutional issues. There's pressure from above and there's pressure from below. So you've got civil service, ideological civil servants who will frustrate and prevent her from actually running the department efficiently. But you also have a lack of support from Boris Johnson. You know, Boris is in the past, he has said he's pro-immigration, he's pro an amnesty for all illegal migrants, he's pro-asylum, etc., etc., etc. So this is a man who absolutely has no real will to stop this, and so there's a lack of support from above and from below.
There are emotive images of people landing on the beach. It can, in some people, stir something atavistic. It triggers an emotional reaction. Isn't the reality that actually the numbers that we're seeing at the moment, that I think sometimes people look at the picture and think, well, this will be sorted soon. The government's got to get a handle on this soon. Actually, the numbers keep ticking inexorably upwards. And I mentioned in my introduction there, William Hague, former Foreign Secretary, last month, saying, you think these numbers are substantial now. You think that Afghanistan can make a difference, and it probably will over the coming months. But actually, compared to what's coming down the track in coming decades, if we don't deal with this problem now, the numbers will be gigantic.
We're creating a very reliable route for this sort of entry, and as we've seen over the past couple of years, every year it increases because the word travels backwards down that route, and people get told, if you go via that route, you will come in very successfully, you won't be sent back. 0 people in the entirety of 2021 have been returned to the countries they've come from.
How can that be?
0, because there is a total failure legislatively. There's a lack of backbone in the government. there is a cowardice, effectively, to deal with this issue.
Even if, I mean, one of the dispiriting aspects of this story, I mean, looking at these pictures now, I mean, I remember being in countries like Greece, watching the boats come across the Aegean from Turkey, the migration crisis that was ostensibly a problem with Syrians. Actually, it wasn't. Syrians were, if anything, in the minority overall. There were lots of people coming from Bangladesh, actually coming from Afghanistan as well. But I never thought that we'd see images like this. I mean, yes, it was one thing in the Aegean, and yes, it was one thing for people to be scaling fences in Calais to board trains and trucks. My point is that, like water finding its way through gravity, people will find a way. And even if we plug this gap, even if we stop the channel crossings, people are desperate to join what is a growing diaspora in the UK, family and friends who can nurture them, help them find work in the black market, somewhere to live, somewhere to sleep. That's going to continue to be a huge and growing pull factor.
Well, I don't think it's an inevitability. It hasn't been happening forever, and it shouldn't happen forever. The government can at least reduce the numbers and the rate at which it is happening, but at the moment it's only increasing because of the weakness that the government has exhibited. I don't understand how the party can continue to call itself Conservative after spending today raising taxes, curtailing freedoms and allowing law and order to disintegrate to the point where people can literally break into the country and face absolutely no repercussions whatsoever. In fact, they are housed, clothed and fed. They are incentivised to come. What exactly is the Conservative Party representing in terms of Conservative values?
And what do you say to those people who will be shouting at the telly now saying, how dare you say that? These are people in need. They are, yes, in some instances economic migrants, but they are moving to enrich the quality of all our lives in this country, work hard, pay taxes, make Britain a better place.
Well, legal migration is already running at around 750,000 a year, over 300,000 net figure. The additional 30,000 coming in illegally are, on top of that entire number. The rate is considerably too high. And if you consider the fact that the people who are coming in illegally are the people who can't come in legally despite how lax our system is currently, that gives you some indication of what sort of people these are and where they're coming. If they can't come in legally, it's probably for a good reason, because our system is so lax that pretty much anyone can come in.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.